So now that we've kind of got to a point where all sniper rifles are viable inside Warzone Season 2, even the aggressive snipers do have less flinch now. This video is going to go over what are the best weapons to pair with your sniper rifle and going over the 6 best sniper support options. If you do enjoy this style of content, don't forget to subscribe as we try to reach our goal of 50k. Click that link and subscribe to our second channel. As always, the first thing we're going to do is go through the actual stats of the weapons themselves. So we've got the TTKs at 300 HP with a mixed shot location TTK. And the shot location percentages are on the side right here. You can obviously see that 14% head, 36% chest, 19% stomach. This is based around my 1.4 KD and where I usually land my shots, and then everything else is made up of extremities damage. So what we are looking at here is assault rifles. There's also some LMGs in here as well. We don't really need to focus too much on the LMGs because they just have slow movement in general. And then we also do have the SMGs as well. So it's going to be a mixture of ARs and SMGs in this category. For the ARs, we need to mainly focus on the first damage range. So organizing this in terms of the fastest TTK first, we have the AS44, which I've said is a meta sniper support option for a long time now, and even with its recent buff now is actually even better because they control the recoil of this gun even more. So we'll get on to what the builds are in a moment, but AS44 is definitely a solid option. ASVAL is good for solos. Other than that, I would not recommend this gun at all. Nikita AVT is a solid option as well in my opinion. The mag size is pretty decent. Movement and recoil control is pretty good too, so definitely a solid gun there. Then we've got a whole bunch of LMGs, so we're not really focusing too much on those, and we end up with the Cold War kind of FFAR. It has a fast rate of fire. It only has 2 damage drop-offs, which is pretty good as well. We also have the Cooper Carbine here, which is a solid gun too. And then we're looking at more LMGs. So moving on to SMGs now, we're going to similarly look at this, but this time we're focusing on the second damage range, because the first damage drop-off for most SMGs is actually 15 meters. So obviously, like I said, we'll cover that in just a moment. So we're going to arrange this in terms of fastest TTK once again. As you can see, the Vanguard Macro 5 has the fastest long-range TTK out of any gun in the entire game, actually. But obviously, it's not really going to be viable because it's an akimbo weapon. You can't ADS. But if you could, this gun would actually be completely broken. Now we've got the Macro 5 SMG single, which I do think is a solid gun. The damage does drop off, obviously to 607 milliseconds, which is still pretty solid for an SMG, and this is with the rapid barrel on there. But if you do add on the recoil controlling barrel, you need to increase your TTK by about 60 milliseconds, so that will take it about 667 milliseconds, which again is still pretty solid. As you can see, it's still faster than the Armada anyway, so you're still going to get a pretty solid TTK overall. Next up, we do have the Armada, which again I do think is a very solid sniper support option. TTKs are pretty good across the board within that second damage range. Even if you end up in that third damage range, it's still actually competitive with some assault rifles. The Tommy gun's not great, to be honest, in terms of recoil control. Sten, again, not great in terms of recoil control. Blitzen is again not really great in terms of recoil control unless you're using it point blank range. You probably can get away with it, but with the way the update's taken place, and you don't get any recoil control with this gun because you don't need to use any barrels for the fastest TTK build. Type 100 obviously is not going to be up there. Mac 10 is a pretty solid sniper support now because it only has 2 damage drop-offs, so that's going to make it a very solid sniper support gun. Wellgun is pretty decent too because it's low recoil, but again it has that third damage drop-off. So let's get into the actual top 6 sniper support guns, and we're starting off with the Mac 10 here, and obviously we're going to go through the builds for these guns here as well. With the Mac 10, I do think I've made some slight adjustments that make this gun pretty solid as a sniper support. Obviously it's got 2 damage drop-offs, so that's something that definitely helps this weapon overall. But with the build, you want to use the agency suppressor. You're going to get the recoil control, the bullet velocity, the damage range. All of this is important for longer ranges. Ranger barrel this time instead of the task force. It cons your recoil a bit too much, and the only real bonus we need from it is the bullet velocity, so that's why I went for the Ranger barrel, so we're not conning the recoil too much. You can go for a no stock. This kind of cleans up your iron sights, or you can even go for a Microflex LED optic as well. That kind of sorts out the same problem. You could also need to go for the field agent grip, and this is going to help with the recoil control even further. And then the 53 round mags is the largest mags available for this gun, so it's kind of a no-brainer. Next up at number 5, and my personal favourite gun in the game at the moment, and that's the Armada. Now, I think as an SMG, it definitely works out the best, but as a sniper support, it's still pretty solid because it's a low recoil gun. So you do want to use the recoil booster still for the faster fire rate. It's going to give you that faster TTK, which is important. You need to use the body barrel as well. Again, it's going to give you less of a damage fall off. It doesn't really help with the recoil control, but overall we're going to make up for that with the other attachments, so we still get the fast TTK. Slate reflector, because this is the optic I like. You could choose whatever optic you want. You need to use the Perfetto standard stock. This is going to help with the side-to-side recoil, and it does con your movement, but again, we're using this for multiple ranges, so we need it to control that horizontal recoil. We're using hard scope to again control the recoil of this gun. Again, because we're not using any recoil controlling barrels, we're going to go for the perks instead. Quick is just going to help give you that faster sprint speed. Polymer grip to control the recoil overall with the sustained fire. Again, definitely a solid option if you're trying to run any SMG as a sniper support. Then the 60 round mags, which is standard, lengthened, and then the hand stop under barrel. Definitely recommend this again. Next up, we have the Macro 5 SMG. Now, this gun can do pretty much everything at this point, let's be honest. But overall, as a sniper support, still very solid. It actually has a faster TTK than the Armada, even with the Amaretto barrel on there. So like I said, you're getting a very solid gun with the Macro 5. So you still want to use the recoil booster for the faster fire rate, obviously going to help the TTKs, of course. Amaretto barrel is going to help you with the recoil control. You can obviously still go for the body barrel if you really want that insanely fast TTK, but considering we need to use this gun in those kind of medium ranges, I would highly recommend the 342mm. Then we've got slate reflector. Perfetto stock is definitely a must on this gun because the other two actually con your recoil. Then we're using momentum. No other attachment here is going to help with recoil or anything like that, so you might as well just go for whatever one you want here. Even maybe discard will be a solid option if you don't really need the movement speeds. Perk 2 is quick for the better movement speeds. Polymer grip in this case to help control the recoil of the weapon. 48 round drums I think is kind of like the standard for this weapon. If you feel like you're struggling with the recoil still at those medium ranges, you can actually go for the Nambu mags. It's going to slow your weapon down, but it will give you a bit more recoil control, so it's probably quite a good trade-off as a sniper support because you don't really need to have the gun move like super insanely fast or anything. Lengthened again for the bullet velocity, and hand stop under barrel to control the recoil as always. Now we're moving on to the assault rifle category. Now most of these assault rifles have only 2 damage drop-offs anyway, so we don't need to worry too much about that part. But let's go into the builds here. So for the Cooper carbine, which is an insanely fast firing weapon, first of all, which is very forgiving in close range. So overall it's going to feel like an SMG. You do want to use the recoil booster for the faster fire rate. Cooper custom stock is actually going to give you a faster fire rate as well and control your recoil, so there's no reason to not use this barrel. Slate reflector, whatever optic you want. Skeletal stock here, because the skeletal stock will give you faster movement speeds, but without conning your recoil too much. It's only the initial recoil, but at point blank range, this is not going to matter too much. Then you want to use fleet for the better movement speeds. I would already recommend this on the long range build for this gun anyway, but still you want to have it on there so it feels more like an SMG. On hand for better ADS times. Polymer grip is going to help with the recoil control at those medium ranges, which you do still need. 60 round drum mags is a must for the Cooper carbine, lengthened, and then the hand stop under barrel once again to control the recoil. If you feel like the recoil is quite low on this gun anyway, you don't really need the hand stop, you can go for the skeletal under barrel and take the movement speed bonuses you can get from that as well. That's another solid way to build this weapon, but overall the Cooper carbine is a really solid sniper support gun. Next up, we have the Nikita AVT. Now, this gun's a bit weird and I'll explain why, but overall is definitely a solid sniper support option. The recoil is very easy enough to use in those close to medium ranges. When it gets to the kind of further ranges, then that's where this weapon will struggle a bit, even if you built it solely for recoil control. But overall, it's going to be like the new Ram 7, whereas it does pair well with the sniper. Now for the muzzle, you actually want to use the F8 stabilizer. The recoil booster no longer actually helps the fire rate on this weapon. So as you can see here, it helps the hip fire accuracy, which is not really a benefit here. So what we actually want to do is stabilize that horizontal recoil control. You can actually go for the MX silencer if you really want to, but I feel like the stabilizer is going to help. Plus you're going to be in point blank range most of the times anyway. so you might as well go for that. Then we're using the 613mm barrel, which is the best at controlling recoil for this weapon. Again, you will need the recoil control from this barrel. Slate reflector, you can choose whatever optic you want. Zac MS stock, which is going to help with the horizontal recoil, once again more important than vertical recoil. It only cons your movement a bit, but we need to take that sacrifice to get the recoil control benefits. Then you actually want to go for Fleet, which is going to give you better movement speed. You can actually go for Perfectionist as well, which will help the recoil even further. So if you do feel like you're struggling, go for Perfectionist instead. But I think the movement speed bonus is definitely handy. On hand is definitely going to help with the ADS time. Polymer grip for the recoil control once again. 50 round mags is the best mags for this gun because the other one cons your bullet velocity and damage range. Then you want lengthened for the ammunition type, and then hand stop underbarrel once again for the recoil control. Last but not least, we have the gun that I probably talk about the most in terms of sniper support options, and that is the AS44. At close, medium, and long range, this gun fries. So it's definitely a very solid option. I highly recommend trying it if you haven't already, especially as a sniper support. So you do want to use the recoil booster for the faster fire rate. You want to use the Falchion barrel for the faster fire rate. Again, this is going to give you those insane TTKs, and they did buff the recoil of this base weapon anyway, so overall we are getting better recoil regardless. Slate reflector, Zac 12A is going to help with the side-to-side recoil, which again is more important. Steady perk here because it's going to help with the movement speeds overall. There's not any recoil controlling perks here, which I would have used, but overall take a movement speed perk for that instead. Then we are using on hand for the better ADS time, polymer grip for the recoil control because we do need it on this weapon. 60 round mags is the best mags for the AS44. It gives you the best TTKs, the largest mags available, overall just better. Lengthened, you can go for hollow point or subsonic if you really wanted to, but I still think lengthened for a sniper support is more important. And then the hand stop underbarrel for the recoil control, you definitely need this. So there we have it. Those are the 6 best sniper support guns inside Warzone at the moment. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe as we try to reach our goal of 50k. Click that link in the description and subscribe to our second channel, and thank you very much for watching.